Let's start making buttons. So to start, I have already made a copy from Bootstrap. So these are the buttons that I want to make. So let's start with the primary one. Then I click text and add the text on the screen, primary. And now that I have it, I want to make it a auto layout. How do I do that? I'm going to, while I'm selecting this text, hold Shift and A. And as you can see, the frame became auto layout. Let's go ahead and add a background color by clicking on fill. I already have all of my colors, so I can select primary color. My text is gonna be white. Let's go and add like a 4. Okay. I want to have add effect. So level 2. So here's what I'm trying to do. My button has 3 states, right? One of them is default. Then when I hover over it, I want it to raise up a little bit. When I'm selecting it, I want it to go back. So let's start with level 2. And I can add a component. Let's rename a component to primary. Now we can add variant to it. Let's go ahead and click on variants. This one I want to call hover. So for the hover, I wanted to go a little bit higher. So I changed the level 2 to level 3. The background color going to be light. And let's add another for select. You can either click plus, or you can select the entire component and add a new variant here. So this one going to be pushed back, or it's going to be deselected. So I want it to be darker, level 1. Okay. So here, how we gonna make a button component? Let me adjust the name here. So this one going to be selected, right? Before I can now I can make a copy from this and create other buttons. But before I do, I can add a interaction right now. So when I'm copying it, I don't need to do the interactions anymore. So how to do that? You click on the prototype. Basically from here, I want to say while hovering, go to the next smart animate 10 milliseconds. Now from here, if you click on it, go to the next one and click 10 milliseconds. From here, so here's what happens. When I click on it, I want it to go to that selected stage and jump back in like super short. So, I don't want it to stay there. So drag from the selected to default and give it a delay. So after delay, 10 milliseconds, jump back. All right, let's give it a try and see how it looks like. Make a frame. And I can bring this primary here, click play. It's always nice to, test it out before you continue. So I have this one, hover state is working and click is working too. You see, slightly just change the color and goes back again. Yep, perfect. This is perfect. This is what I want. Okay. Now that I have the primary, you can make a copy from it and change it to okay. Change the text, secondary, just the size. Now one by one, instead of primary, it's going to be secondary light, and secondary dark. Let's test. So if I go to my asset, I can see these 2 buttons that I have, primary and secondary. But because I made a copy from the existing one, from the original one, so I don't need to work on the prototyping and connecting anymore. Hopefully, let's try. Yep, it is working. It was working fine. All right, so this is how you build buttons. You can go ahead and add all of them, but before we do, so I want to just go ahead and show you how to organize them. As you see on my asset right now, I'm on my local component. I do have these two buttons right here, but what if I have more than these two components, right? You need to be able to organize them like how we've done for our text. So to do so, if you remember the slash, right? So I can go on each of these and add buttons slash, and same thing here, button slash. Now that I've done this, under my component, I have buttons, which if I select on them, I can find these two. So in case you have forms, you have, cards, all sort of stuff. So it's very easier for us to go and find them. So again, every time when you use this slash, that's going to add a kind of folder to it, to the components. So this is basically how I would make components, right? You just make one and can make a copy. You can go ahead and do the success, danger, and so on. Now, another way of doing it is going to be having one giant kind of component, which you can change the values and get all these kind of versions out of only one. Let's go ahead and have a look at it. So let's go and see how can we add make one component which includes all different type of variety. Let me just go ahead and make a copy from this primary one. You know what? I'm just going to make it a button. Okay. So when I select the component, as you can see here under variants, there's a property one. You can add variants, which we're doing usually, or you can add property. So what is it and how it works? I can show you soon. Let's go and add a property here. So I want to have this property named type. Okay, so the type going to be, what type is it? Is it primary, secondary, successes? What is it? And the other property that I have, property one, I want to give it a status, right? Which going to be default, hover, or selected. Let's say states or state. Okay. So it won't kind of doesn't make sense, but just bear with me, we will get there. So now when I select on each of these variants, I can see two options here. So for the state, first one is default as a type. So this is primary, right? So I can say primary. Same thing for the second one. So the second one is hover, but it is primary and primary. Let me drag this type at the top. So usually this is how you want to say, right? You want to say, I want a primary button and what state going to be. Okay. I am going to, so usually on a regular one, you're just going to be finished and add or create another component, right? But this time I want to just expand it. And let's make a copy of this primary one. And let's name it secondary. And change the color. So this is going to be secondary white, and secondary dark. Okay, let's see what happens. When I click on my master component, now I have type, which type has primary or secondary. Then there's a state, which is as default, hover, or selected. Let's see how it works. I will go back to my frame. Let me delete them. So on my asset, I'm going to have only one button. So instead of having multiple buttons, there's a one button which multiple properties. Let's grab it. And here you can select what type of button do you want, or what type of state do you want it to be. So basically, in one component, you can handle to have multiple different buttons. The only tricky thing though here is when you want to give them the interaction with the prototype, when you copy them, let me show you, it will hold the original location. So you can't just drag them or make a copy and keep the same interaction. So this is kind of the trade-off. So manually you need to, adjust them one by one, right? Like this. and now you have it. Another way of adjusting the interaction going to be, let's make a copy again. All right, let's just call it info. So go to the type, so type info. Let me just change the color. Info. Info. So this is going to be info light, and this one going to be info dark. Secondary, so that's it. Yeah. Now let's go and see the prototype. Right? You can either select this arrow and move them, or you can select it, and from here you can say go to info. Same thing here. Go to info. Here, go to info. And you can add icons, you can do, outlines and all kind of stuff. You can have the property to say, do I want to have a button with icon or without an icon, right? Or do I want to have this outlined or without an outline? Which, yeah, it's going to be up to you which way to use. I can add this buttons/button, right? So when I do that, it's going to live into that my button folder, which right now you have a bunch of them, right? So again, it's up to you. It's which way are you doing? The both way works. You can either go like this, or you can make it one giant component, which includes multiple properties. Thank you so much.